Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you enjoyed this video, giving it a like and a subscribe is a free way to support the channel, as I can continue to create more content like this. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1 my reference for braking is close to number 1. I'm braking before the number 1, but I'm looking at the number 1 board, and you want to put the car all the way near the grass here. So if you will stay at this edge of the white line, at the one on the right, you will lose a bit on the entry. So really want to open up as much as you can, pushing the brakes quite hard, so I'm picking 90%, and immediately I start to turn into the corner, because here's a corner where there's a lot of grip on the inside. So the grippiest part of the corner is here near the curb. So if you will be more on the left here, you will have a hard time turning the car, but also you will lose more time because you will cover a longer distance. So the key into this corner is to keep a tight line, as tight as you can. And what I'm recommending and what I saw that is quite efficient time-wise is using this curb and mounting it like this. Notice that I'm putting my right tire on the curb, and even though it's a bit bumpy, because you anyways have to modulate the throttle, then you won't lose as much. Actually, you will gain time. So I would recommend, if you didn't use this curve before, use it now and see the difference in your delta. For me, it was 1/10 quicker to use the curve, so I'm always mounting it like that. And one pro tip that I can give you here is upshift to third gear sooner than you think. So if you notice here, I'm second right now, but then I'm giving it third quite at the exit. So notice my throttle input. I was going progressively up to this point around here, which is the point that I go to third gear. So because I want to smash it on the exit and I don't want to have wheel spin, I upshift to third gear. You have to feel in the force feedback this. You can't just do it like a robot. You really have to feel it. But be mindful of this with the force feedback. If you feel like the rear is starting to slide on the exit, upshift to third. You will have a better traction out of the corner. Keeping it a tight line for turn 2, so you see here, you have to be very close to the grass and the white line. If your exit is more on the left, so if your car is more in the center right now, then you're losing time, that's for sure. Now going into turn 2, I don't want to stay close to the inside curb here. I want to take a longer path. Even though I'm losing a bit because I'm traveling a longer distance, I will have such a superior entry into the next corner. So because the next corner is quite close, I'm taking this longer path. And the moment that I arrive at the curb, I'm pushing the brakes. You don't want to brake that hard. I'm going 23%, and then immediately back on throttle, using this curb and pushing through it. You have to cut here a lot. This will push you all the way to this exit road. You can even barely touch the grass and it won't be an off track. For the next corner, whenever this track starts to be a bit shiny, like right now, I'm applying the brakes. This is my braking point. I want to brake in a straight line first, and then I turn more and more into the corner. Then I'm shifting to second, and the moment that I'm at this curb, I will push the throttle. Don't cut too much this curb. You want to cut it, but don't cut it early too much. That's the better word to use. So if you will cut it around here, then you will just go in front of the track and you will arrive too far on the right. You want on the exit to be in the center of the track, let's say. So if you are too far on the right, then you will lose a lot of time on the next straight. And in order to be in this position, you have to cut the curb and to carry the speed. You have to cut here in the middle of the curve. You cut it, you put the throttle early enough, because right now you just want to keep it flat. I do a small lift here, but that's fine. It's not that big, but if you will lift a bit more, then it will be problematic. Now going into this corner right here, don't cut too much this curve. Again, same thing. If you will cut too much, then you will run out of space here. So find the limit on what you can cut, and right now it will be just a straight line up until this corner right here. My reference into this corner, I just look at the apex. I don't have a point in which I'm braking. Whenever I feel that I'm close enough, like right now, I'm turning and barely braking into the corner, like 6%, then pushing the throttle again at the apex. You can cut even more than what I did here. Use all the exit, and now into the uphill braking zone. This is probably one of the trickiest corners of the track. I'm braking at number 2, like right now, I'm pushing the brakes. And I want to brake initially in a straight line whenever I have the biggest amount of pressure, and then I start to turn, but don't turn that much, going into third gear, and what I aim is to have the car here near the curb. I want to push it in a straight line almost from the moment of braking so that it will arrive to this curb on the left side, because if you look here closely on the entry, it's hard to find the reference, but you just want to barely touch the right side and go straight. Because if you will turn too much, then you won't have enough grip for the braking and you will have to brake early. To avoid this, just keep the steering wheel as straight as you can initially, and then barely, very smoothly turn more and more, like that, up until you get here. Then I'm just using 2% on the brakes to make sure the car turns. And before arriving at this curb, you should be early on power. So because this is a long straight after this corner, if you will push the throttle initially at the curb, it will be too late. Notice that at this point I already have 47% on throttle. So if you will touch the throttle here, for example, your initial touch, then you might gain on entry, because you will go a bit hotter probably, but you will lose all that time and more on this exit. So be early on throttle and use all this curb. Now we go into the next braking zone, which can be tricky. My reference here, so I want to turn into the corner with 100%, and whenever I arrive at this arrow here on the right side, I will push the brakes. Like right now the arrow disappears and now I'm pushing the brakes. I'm aiming at this curb to touch it with my left tire while still holding the brakes while going uphill. Then I will downshift to second eventually, and now I'm looking at this yellow and green curb. I want to cut it in the middle of it almost, and then push the throttle like this, going into third gear, get all the way to the left here. There's no reason to compromise because you have enough downforce to make the next corner, so don't stay in the center on the exit, be all the way to the left. Use this curb to open up, and this one as well. And now for the last two corners, I want to turn flat out in fifth gear. I want to mount this curb to go completely over it with the left tires, and whenever I'm landing, that's when I'm applying the brakes and downshifting to fourth, aiming to cut the green and yellow curb again and cut it as much as you can and push the throttle. It was a bit later on throttle. As you can see, there's a small gap in between the brake and the throttle, and as a result here I have more space on the exit on the left side, so you have to be a bit earlier on throttle. But in short, that's a track guide with the F4 around Virginia. It's a tough track, you can easily do mistakes, and if you want to improve at a quicker pace, if you want to elevate your skills, your technique, and you found that this video useful, you can check out also my sim racing course. It's in the video description. It packs around 7 hours worth of content, and I think it will help you improve even more. Thanks for watching and looking forward to see you in the next video. Bye bye.